So this is another video on our beautiful series in Lucas Studio for data analysts. Today in this series, we will work on time series analysis or time series chart in Lucas Studio. For Lucas Studio, it is different from line charts, and I will explain the difference. When it gets to, let's go up here, add chart. When it gets to time series analysis, the dimension must be strictly a date or date time field, whereas when it gets to line chart, it is open. It can be a time series or non-time series. It could be a time or non-time based field. And of course, you can see we have the combo chart, combo combination of bar and line chart. We have this other line chart. We have the box plots, and we also have the candlestick chart. Just that depends on what you want or your preference. But we are working on time series, and this strictly depends on time and date field in our data set. And it has to have a date or time data type. Like you could see here, I have my order date, and that is a date. We have our shipping date, that is also a date, and it has to be, otherwise, it will not work. So let's start. We have the time series chart, the normal time series chart. We have the spark line chart, and then we have the smoothed line series chart. And it doesn't matter where you start, you will always move to any of them in the property panel. So I will start with the time series, pick it and drop it here. And of course, you know how Lucas Studio does it. It's going to pick a measure and a dimension. It has picked order date and I'm happy with order date, but I am not happy with the record count. So I will change it to, I will replace it with sales. Okay, so I'll add it there and remove this. Doesn't matter, you can also go straight there and replace it. So, and we have a lower level data. That is because it is date. We can have it a higher level data for year and for month. But before then, what is essentially time series analysis? This is a method businesses use to check or to analyze how their metrics or measures changes over time. So you want to know when it's your peak period or when it's your trough, when the businesses are improving and when they are not improving. A time series analysis easily shows you what is happening, and it's so interesting. It is one of those charts that at a glance you already know whether your business is doing well or it is not doing well. There is no two ways about it, and that is one of the most used charts. All right, so let's move on the time series charts. You must use the date or the time dimension for the x-axis, and of course your metrics for the y-axis. On our y-axis now we have our sales, and then we have our order date for the x-axis. All right, so let's move on to the setup. On the setup, we have, of course, the source of our data, which is the supply chain, our date range, which picked up the order date. Now our dimension is order date. We can also choose the shipping date. Okay, so let's move on. Now we have drill down. Drill down happen in, as long as you have your dates field selected, drill down happen a little bit different here from compared to how it happens with other kind of charts. So as soon as I enable the drill down, two things happen. I will go ahead and enable it. Now, as soon as I enable it, Lucas Studio is smart enough to extract date and month from your normal date. So it extracted the date, it extracted the year month. That's like picking up the year and its month. And then, of course, see, kept your normal date, and that is beautiful. The second thing that happens is the general thing. It creates the drill down, but this drill down this time around, it's kind of different. How? It starts with your order date, that is the granular level at the default date here, you can see, and then it gives you that you can actually drill up. Normally, most order drill down we have always start with the top and you drill down, but usually this starts with the granular level and allows you to drill up. But depending on your preference, you can choose to start from the top, from the high level, and drill down to the level of granularity that you want. All right, so let's move up. So we click on here and then we get to the year month. I'll click it again and it takes us to the year. And that's how interesting this beautiful set of data is. Okay, so as I expand it, it shows that it organizes, it arranges well. Okay, let's move on. I am loving what we are doing. Can also come in here and add a breakdown dimension. Now, breakdown dimension will break down our date dimension into some categories. Let's pick up our category. We can pick up city, we can pick up country, we can pick up region, depending on what we want. Let's go with category and drop it on the breakdown dimension. And it adds some more context into what we are analyzing. Now, let's say it like this. You may not see it properly, but you notice we have technology, furniture, and office supplies. These are the distinct categories in this our category field. So let's move up. Can you see as we drilled up, you start seeing these things start making sense, and it's quite interesting. Drill up more, you will see it, and that's how it works. Let's stay at this level. I'll scroll down to our measure, our matrix. Our matrix is now sales, and that is sum of sales. We can change it to average count depending on what we want, and we can give it a different name, just your preference. But sales is fine. All right, so and since we have sales here, we can decide now to add another matrix known as the optional matrix. Of course, you guys know that's usually my favorite field in this setup because I mean it gives you so much power to do a whole lot in one chart. A whole lot in one chart. Ability to analyze different metrics in just one chart. That's so sweet. So I will enable it and I will bring in the profit, and I can also bring in profit margin. Let's get profit margin. All right, profit margin, please come. Good. So we have profits and profit margin. Okay, so let's move in. You know the way I do it? I usually go to view mode because that's where you see it come out really well. Now this is our optional matrix. I have sales. I can go to profit margin, and you can see in profit margin we recorded some negative profit, like some losses. All right, so I picked two profit margin. Let's go in and edit so that we add our profits. That's our profit margin, and I will remove one, put profit here. Good, we're happy. Okay, so let's go back and we have profit margin and we have profit. See how they look well, and that's depends on what you want. Anyhow you want it, you just pick it. That's how interesting it is. So let's go back to our edit mode. Click here to enable the property panel, and we are happy with what we have. This is a sort. You can sort by any measure or dimension you want, and you can also add filter as much as you want or filter rules. So let's go, but that's it about setup. Let's go to style. Now, in our style, of course, you can add your title. We can say sales over time. I've used it before. Sales over time, and it comes here. Then you can format it however you want. Can give it a higher font size, change the font type, bold, color. You can just check it however you want. You can bring the title down or you can leave it up, which looks better. Again, that depends on your preference. Now, in the series order, what we have is this series order and the dimension. So you can order by series order. Now, the difference here is on the dimension, they can come in here and get some more power to do more things here. Change the color depending on what you want. And these are some of the ones I have used. You can delete some of them. Of course, you can come here and delete some of them. So let's move on. This is series 1. Then this is series 2, series 3. So let me go down. You will keep seeing series up to series 10. I think. Yeah, that's series 9. And do we have series 10? No, we don't have series 10. All right, so yeah, we've got series 10. So that's series 10. And that comes because we have number of series as 10. We can actually increase it or reduce it, but we have just 3 here. Let's work on these 3. All right, so let me move up. Okay, so I think that is better. Series 1, series 2, where is it again? Series 3. And that is it. No other series. That's it. So that makes things easier for us. So now let's work on the series. So on the series, we have the line chart. You can change it to bar charts. And this bar comes with just picking up one of the series, make it a bar, and the other leaving them as line. Either way, just choose what is your preference. If you think beauty is part of what you're doing, then this might look much more beautiful. But remember, the most important thing, as long as analyzing data and building dashboard is concerned, is that you must meet the requirements that you gathered. That is, you must give value. Every other thing will be secondary. Static structure is secondary. As long as you have analyzed your data and you analyze it correctly, that is the most important. Now, the next is to visualize it and ensure that people who are consuming it can easily consume it at a glance. They don't have to start struggling or need you to consume it. Okay, so that's line, that's bar. We go back to bar, and each of them have their properties. Because it is bar, we don't have so much here. Then line gives us some more. Can choose this particular series. You can choose to make it a dotted one, and you can see it. You can make it. You can make it thicker by giving it 4. So you saw it, and you can also show points, some nice points there. And you have like cumulative. We are not working with cumulative. We also have like some step line. You can see the step line just depending on how you want your line to be. Or you can also show data, and this doesn't look good. This doesn't look good. So I'm not going to share, but I think show point is quite nice. It looks it looks quite nice. And this point represent the different months in this analysis. So let's move on. So we have the trend line. You can actually decide not to use a trend line as we are not using, but we can decide to choose any of these other 4 trend lines. And I'm going to go through all of them in a moment. Now let's start with a linear trend line. So the linear trend line, you can see it here, very linear. I'm going to make it bit like darker so that you can see it. Darker blue will make it see it. Excellent. So we can see it. You can increase the trend line. You can you can increase the line to 4 if that's what you want. You can just leave it at 2 because it's still visible. Okay, so when do we use a linear trend line? First of all, this linear trend line usually shows that something is increasing or decreasing at a steady rate. So, in other words, since we have sales, it means that your sales revenue is increasing or decreasing at a steady rate. If it is profit, it means it is increasing or decreasing at a steady rate. And when you look at this, you notice that it is actually increasing at a steady rate. All right, so let's move on to the next. We'll go back to our sales. The next is exponential. What is exponential? You notice how it is happening. So when do you use exponential? So you use exponential to show that data is increasing or decreasing at an increasing rate. Now compare it to the linear. Linear said increasing or decreasing at a steady rate, but exponential said at an increasing rate. Either we're making losses at an increasing rate or we are making profit at an increasing rate. Either we have a very high volume of sales or inflow of revenue, or we have a low one. So it depends on what your data is saying, but it's saying that use exponential trend line if your data is increasing or decreasing at a high rate. Now let's move on to the next one, which is polynomial. So when do we use polynomial? We use polynomial to analyze data that fluctuates. You can see how the curve is. Data that fluctuates, either increasing or decreasing level. So a polynomial trend line is a curve line and it is used when data fluctuates. It is useful, for example, for analyzing gains and losses over a large data set. Over a large data set, that's when you make the most out of it. Let's again quickly hover to the moving average. Now, moving average, you will notice that. All right, so let me give this a different line. I will give it a dark green line. What? Yellow will be fine. Good, so that you understand. That's our trend line. So you understand the difference. So, what is this moving average? When do we use moving average? It is used to show trends that has fluctuations. Now, a moving average trend line smooths out fluctuation in data to show a pattern or a trend more clearly. That's what it does. So, moving average trend uses a specific number of data points, such as periods. You can set the period to 2 or 6 or 7. It uses this specific number of data points, averages them, like we saw there, the period, and uses that average value as a point in the trend line. So that's what you essentially saw in all these points. So the point is you need to know when you want to use each one so that you don't use the wrong trend line at any point. So yeah, let's move on. So we're done explaining all this. Let's move on to the next. Okay, so that's trend line. So we're here. Now you can add an interval. You can also add a reference line. We discussed reference line in our previous video. So we have the number of series. Others can be grouped if we have more than 3 series. Okay, so the next is the missing data. You can decide to add a line to the missing data or add a line break to a missing data or interpolation. Depends on what you want. You can decide to show your axis. Let's remove the axis and show it. You can reverse it for the Y. You can reverse the S. That depends on what you want. So you can also align everything to 0 if that's what you want. So, but this is particular to left axis, to Y axis, the left Y axis. So if I enable it, you can see the title, and of course you can start working on this. You can also use the logarithmic scale instead of the normal scale for it. And this is a logarithmic scale, but we are not discussing logarithmic scale here or log scale. Okay, so the next is the X axis. You can see it here, and then you can start formatting it. Okay, so this had to do with the grid, that is this interface. If I come in here and choose red, you notice every text here changes to red, just like in every other chart, and that's not what we want, so I'm going to reset it. On this, our grid, we can enable this, you can see it, but that's not what we want, so I'm going to reset. You can also make it transparent. If I make it transparent, everything will become blank. So, but I will reset it. Good. Now, when you have done any, when on the grid, you can decide to say, I want all the fonts to be Arial. So I've chosen Arial. So, and you can also decide to have a background color. You can decide to have maybe a dark background color. That still again depends on your design principles. And you can also decide to give it a border of, let's give it a darker green. And when we give it that, let's so we'll give it a darker green, and then you can see it there. Now the legend up there, we have some colors. So let's see our legend. Pick green. The text is green. And of course, you can choose the font depending on where you want your legends to be. There we go there and stay. If you don't want it, completely remove it. But let's keep it up there because they are important. However, you can have it by the left, which is where it is. You can have it in the center, or you can choose to move it to the right. Beautiful. Okay, so the next is background and color. Now this has to do with the background and the entire border. If I decide to pick up green as my background, and of course I like to use maybe 20 as the curve, you can see the curve there. Let's see what the outline is. Since I use red, I'll choose the dark gray. Okay, so I'll increase this to 3 so you can see it. And of course, I like it as solid. And that is how you can easily format your time series chart. And guys, this is not the best formatting. I am just showing you all the different functionality that is compact with this type of chart. And you can use them, make them what you wish, make the most out of them, bring in your innate creativity, activate them, and give the most. So, yes, that is it about time series analysis in Luca Studio. Let's see what it is like in our views. So, this is what it looks like. Of course, we can come in here and change it to profit margin, profit, sales. I love this. I can move up a little to the higher level and come down, and I am just loving what I am getting. So this is it about this beautiful chart, and it's easy to use. So if you're getting value, as usual, please give this video a thumbs up for the YouTube algorithm. If you've got a family out there, please don't keep it to yourself. Anyone who is interested, share this video to them. It's a complete series and it's still in development. You're not going to get this thing out there free of charge, but I'm giving you a detailed explanation of each of this section of this amazing technology, all 100% free, just to get you ready as a data analyst and start hitting from all cylinder. And if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do, because I share amazing tips that will help you become a better data analyst. And to my returning subscribers, you guys are the MVP. Thank you so much for always believing in me. This is a growing family. You can bring in more. Share this video to others. Let them come in and help our family grow. Guys, we can do it. If you have anything you want me to do to create on this series, please put it on the comment section and see you in our next video. Thank you.